good afternoon, everybody. You got Larson and Jack here from Gondola, and this is our first episode of Après sales. And the whole point of this is to have great discussion around anything on SaaS sales, starting a startup, fundraising, working with investors, or anything personal. And, just to make it a little bit more casual, we're going to enjoy a nice beer here on this Thursday afternoon after a long week. Today, I'm drinking a Stone Tangerine Hazy IPA, Express IPA. It is a wonderful beer. Jack, what are you drinking this afternoon?
I got a nice New Belgium Mountain Time lager here, really solid for a hot summer day. So yeah, looking forward to the conversation and covering some topics with you.
Excellent. Well, cheers. Happy Thursday, and it's been a heck of a week, but I'm excited to be chatting with you here today. And really, the topic of discussion here today, I've been in SaaS for about 6 years now, 6, 7 years. It's about how discovery calls and how have discovery calls changed in 2022. And as we look forward, what do we need to be aware of as kind of software sales professionals, and how our discovery calls are changing and evolving in the ecosphere here? So I think the theme that I'm thinking of in terms of how things have changed is all around attention. And specifically, our attention span is much, much shorter now. There's so much noise out there. And so when there's so much noise, you have to be the one signal that kind of separates out yourself from all the other vendors out there, all the email noise that you're getting in there. And so, that's what I really want to focus on here today. How do you kind of separate yourself from the crowd? And Jack, what I'm really curious about is when you think about people who have reached out to you, or when we're looking at buying a software for Gondola internally, we've done this a lot of times now. Like, tell me about some of the good things that you've seen from discovery call best practices, and maybe some of the not great things that you've seen. So I'm curious to get your perspective.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I kind of think of the first maybe couple minutes, 2 to 5 minutes of a discovery call as like basically your cold email intro. Like, I think the way that you run your first couple minutes is basically like the way you would try to start a cold email. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is just to start out by building some rapport right away. If I get some cold emails in and there's nothing personal to me, the company, anything, they're deleted in a half of a second. And I will take up maybe a few seconds on a cold email to look at something if I can tell it's actually personalized to me. Obviously, you have a little bit more than a few seconds on a discovery call, but I think, really building some rapport with something unique about the company or the person that's one layer deeper than just what's at the top of my LinkedIn profile, it really goes a long way to buy you as the sales rep a little more attention span, like you were saying, a little more time to get something across the line.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think the age-old rapport building of like, hey, Jack, how's the weather? Where are you based out of? All that type of stuff is just, it just doesn't work anymore. And I think
totally.
what you really need to think about is it's a few different levels of kind of rapport building or background information, or how you build that context is you as a person. What's your role? What's your responsibility? Let me dig into some of your stuff on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm not going to grab just your headlines, but what have you liked on LinkedIn? What articles are you looking at? Other information I might be able to find just to try to find points of connection. But then also, I think what people really appreciate nowadays is if you can dig really deeply into the company's background, history, news articles, investment stuff that's happened, and try to come up with a unique point of view. When you're doing that background research, and you can come in and say, hey, Jack, this is what I understand about you, the company, and what had me really curious is this one thing. And if you can get someone's mind moving a little bit, then it's like, wow, this person really did their background research. Like, this is pretty incredible stuff. And so I think it's so critical to do that background research on multiple layers, right? So you can kind of establish that rapport across the business.
Totally. I mean, I think I'll give you a little shout out on a call we were on a couple weeks ago, and the person we were pitching to said, I think you might know more about the company than I do right now. And we treat that as like the gold standard. If you can get them to say that, then you're doing a good job, and you have their attention, I think.
Indeed. And when attention is so finite, you only have a few moments in the beginning. And this isn't a cold email outreach where you have literally like fractions of a second before I'm deleting that. You have some time, but it's not much. Probably less than 5 minutes to like really show me that you know what you're talking about, you know our business, and you know kind of what some hypothetical problems might be that I'm trying to solve. And so I think that attention span is so finite there. It's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Really important to set the tone.
Indeed. Well, I think the other thing that I've noticed is, in any sort of sales cycle now, there's way more buyers. There's a lot of technology out there, of course. There's more competitors, but nobody really makes the decision alone anymore. Even if you ask me, am I the decision maker? No, I'm not the
Yeah.
sole decision maker. I'm never the sole decision maker. You're my other half of the counterpart in terms of decision making. And there might be people that work for us that are like, hey, I want to buy in on this. And if they say no or it's not going to work, it's probably not going to work. So multi-threading or knowing where you want to go next after that discovery call is really, really important. Like we encounter people after they talk with you, they have to come talk to me at times. And so continuing that discovery process can be so super critical as you're looking for that next person to have a conversation with.
Yeah, I think again, I guess I'm just pulling some things I've heard from your own discovery calls, but I think one of the things you said to me that really stuck with me once, kind of joking, but I think there's some truth to it, is if you're talking to somebody and they say they're the decision maker, they're actually not the decision maker. And if they say they're not the decision maker, there's a decent chance they might actually be, in trying to, politely play politics there. But that's actually the person you probably want to talk to, or who's at least going to give you the information about who else you need to go to at the organization. So it really stuck with me as a way to kind of weed out who's serious and who's not in that org.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, if you say you're the decision maker, you're probably not the decision maker. But if you say you're not the decision maker, most likely there could be some reality to like, well, at least you have an overarching perspective of the organization and you have a deeper understanding of how decisions are made. You know, you don't make a decision in a vacuum because even if you're at the tippy top and a C-level executive, you still have people that you need to report to that might be working for you and need to get bought in, and they could make your life pretty challenging if you make a decision they don't like. So
Yeah.
I certainly agree with you there. Nice. I think the other thing I've specifically noticed, and you see a lot of solutions out there, is because people's attention span is a little bit shorter now. Their appetite to get to the product, get to the demo, show me the product, is much quicker. It's like I want to see it right now. I want to see it right away. I see a lot of solutions out there that help with bringing the product forward. But so I think there's a, depending upon your sales cycle, of course, complexity of product. If you're a large scale enterprise solution, yes, this may not apply to you. But I think what's happening is that reps need to be better about doing a disco demo combined, showing a little bit of product, saying, hey, I'm going to ask some questions here. And you can always tell when you're asking somebody too many questions, they get a little look on their face. They're like, okay, I'm kind of done with this now. You've been asking me questions for 15 minutes straight. I want to see some product now. Show me a little bit of something to help to keep the conversation going. I don't know if you've ever experienced that or anyone ever does that for you, Jack.
Yeah, well, I have a couple of thoughts on this. I mean, I think if you're doing really good discovery in a 30-minute call and you are planning on showing just the taste of product at the end to get that next meeting, you do want almost the uncomfortable look from the prospect of like, okay, I get it. Like, can we get to it? But that shows you've actually done the deep discovery that you need to get to that point. So in a way, that's a good piece. And I think like discovery calls that I've, been pitched to or been running is if you're going to sell me something and I'm not going to get to see the product on this meeting, I expect that call to be 15 minutes or less. Like, I get it. You got to qualify me to make sure I'm real. I understand that, like, that's how you do some efficient process at scale, but then respect my time and get the info you need in 15 minutes and get me in with the next person who's really going to use my time effectively. So if you're not going to show product, like, in my opinion, I think keeping it as short as possible to respect the time is a good way to go. If you are going to show some product, like I was saying earlier, I think you only want to show just enough where from your discovery, you're confident that that one piece is going to land. Even if you have 20 other things you want to show eventually, don't do that on the first call. Just the taste of the pain point that you are now super confident in that it's going to land. Show that piece in 3 minutes or less, really, at the end as a way to bridge into the next steps. Now you know the multi-threading, who you need to go to from the previous part. And then now you've gotten enough interest so that you can make that ask for the intro in the next meeting. And I think those are the ones that flow the best.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And sometimes by showing a little bit of product, you've earned the right to ask some more questions. That look goes away on their face.
True.
And you go,
True.
cool, now that I've showed you this, okay, now I have some more questions because I got your brain moving a little bit. You know what we do, the value add here are some of the pieces that could spark some more conversation. So it can actually be a really effective tool to help to go deeper on discovery calls. So yeah, I could not agree with you anymore.
It's a good point. Like we were talking at the beginning about the rapport being a way to kind of extend your attention span for the prospect. And that little demo placed in the right spot, just the taste, can extend that attention span just to get that extra bit of information you need.
Certainly. Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, what we're talking about here today, just to summarize, is how discovery calls changed in 2022. We talked about a few things with the central theme of attention, right? You need to do your background research. You need to go multi-thread and know who you're going to next. And don't be afraid if the product is right and the sales cycle is right, is do a little disco demo combined. Mix that up a little bit. It doesn't have to be this hour-long demo. So really appreciate the conversation here, Jack, today. And well, if anyone has any other ideas, if you have questions, comments, anything else, any ideas on this topic in particular, we'd love to hear it. And also, of course, if you have other ideas around topics you'd like to discuss, or heck, if you want to come on and talk with us about some specific topics, we would love to have you on. Again, we're starting this thing off, always joined by a beer on a Thursday afternoon, just so we can, celebrate a great week and have some good conversation around some good topics in software. So, Jack, any closing thoughts here?
No, hope you enjoyed it. And like Larson said, keep it coming. Want to make it really fun, the right amount of educational and a good conversation for everybody. So cheers, everybody. Have a good Friday when you see this, and a great weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.